Let me ask you, will you accept the jury's outcome, their verdict, no matter what it is?
Yes.
And have you ruled out a pardon for your son?
Yes. That I abide by the jury decision, and I will do that, and I will not pardon him.
Mr. President, do you plan on commuting your son's sentence?
Good evening. We are coming on the air with breaking news tonight. President Biden has made a decision to pardon his son, Hunter.
And look, independent, mainstream fact checkers in the press and misinformation experts have been calling out cheap fakes. And at the end of the day, they're fake. A cheap fake. That was definitely a cheap fake. It was.
What are you aware of?
Misinformation, disinformation online.
Former President Obama and George Maloney of Italy, they physically put hands on the president to guide him and show him, give stage directions. Are they doing that on their own?
The United States government violated the First Amendment by coercing and censoring speech.
Were you aware that the FBI had Hunter Biden's laptop since December of 2019?
I can't speak to exactly when we had a laptop available.
What are you aware of?
I don't believe FBI personnel were in contact with Twitter about the Hunter laptop story specifically. I think there were people in contact with Twitter about Russian disinformation efforts.
Of which the Hunter Biden laptop story was included, according to the FBI.
Bottom line is our focus is on preventing inflationary pressures from being an issue in the future. And that's why the president is committed to moving forward with his Build Back Better agenda, with his bipartisan infrastructure plan, investments and proposals that outside economists have said will help address this over the long term.
And I ask you to remember the context in which you exist.
Welcome back to Quality TV. I'm your host, Qua, and in today's video, I know you saw the intro, so we got to talk about a few things here. There's been news lately circulating about some reporters saying that they should have said more. They question on Biden's decline, but since the election, I'm sure you've heard that this election was a indictment on the Democrat Party. So let's dive into it. What is the indictment on the Democrat Party? Number one being lies told, and then the other point is that they serve themselves and not the people that elected them. And I know that was a lot going on in the intro, but I did that to just to showcase some of the scandal that's been going on in the last 4 years in U.S. politics. So first off, we're going to talk about some of the lies that the Democrat Party has told to us over the last 4 years. So one of the lies that they've told us, the situation with Hunter Biden's laptop, they told us that Joe Biden had nothing to do with it. In fact, there was a White House oversight committee that actually really dove into the Joe Biden, Hunter Biden, the laptop business. And I'm going to show you a video here in just a second on what they actually found from that investigation, and I'll let you be the judge on how you feel about that.
Republican majority in January, the House Oversight and Accountability Committee has uncovered a mountain of evidence revealing how Joe Biden abused his public office for his family's financial gain. For years, President Biden has lied to the American people about his knowledge of and participation in his family's corrupt business schemes. At least 10 times, Joe Biden lied to the American people that he never spoke to his family about their business dealings. He lied by telling the American people that there was an absolute wall between his official government duties and his personal life. Let's be clear. There was no wall. The door was wide open to those who purchased what a business associate described as the Biden brand. Evidence reveals that then Vice President Joe Biden spoke, dined, and developed relationships with his family's foreign business targets. These business targets include foreign oligarchs who sent millions of dollars to his family. It also includes a Chinese national who wired $250,000 to his son. Joe Biden also lied to the American people about his family making money in China. He continued to lie about it even when the House Oversight Committee uncovered bank wires, revealing how the Bidens received millions from Chinese companies with significant ties to Chinese intelligence and the Chinese Communist Party. Just this week, we uncovered 2 additional wires sent to Hunter Biden that originated in Beijing from Chinese nationals. This happened when Joe Biden was running for president of the United States, and Joe Biden's home is listed as the beneficiary address. To date, the House Oversight Committee has uncovered how the Bidens and their associates created over 20 shell companies, most of which were created when Joe Biden was vice president, and raked in over $20 million between 2014 and 2019. We've also identified...
All right, so a quick pause in the action there. So what they're saying there, you tell me in the comment section below, do you believe that Biden had no involvement in Hunter's business? They went on for years and years. Hunter Biden laptop situation was just Russia collusion. And not to mention, another lie that they told was that they were censoring U.S. citizens through the form of social media posts and things like that, which was also found to be untrue. They also lied about that as well. So again, over the last 4 years, there has been tons of scandal inside of the Biden administration.
9 Biden family members who have participated in or benefited from these shady business schemes. Now, what were the Bidens selling to make all this money? Joe Biden himself. Joe Biden is the brand, and Joe Biden showed up at least 24 times with business targets and associates sending signals of access, influence, and power to those prepared to pay for it. The American people demand accountability for this culture of corruption. They demand to know how these schemes have compromised President Biden and threatened our national security. They demand safeguards to be put in place to prevent public officials from selling access to their public office for private gain. Under the leadership of Speaker Kevin McCarthy, House Republicans have now opened an impeachment inquiry into President Joe Biden. By opening an impeachment inquiry, our investigation is now focused on whether President Biden engaged in impeachable offenses under the U.S. Constitution.
So, long story short, nothing came of this, but there was actual proof that there was involvement with Hunter Biden's laptop and Joe Biden. But the lies, I could go on and on all day about the lies that they told during their 4 years in office, but the video would be very, very long. I'll cover one other thing that they lied about during the Biden administration, which was censoring American citizens, violating the First Amendment.
And Senator Hawley, you're recognized for your questions.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Thanks to all of the witnesses for being here. Director Brewer, if I could just start with you. How familiar are you with the case Missouri versus Biden?
Not really familiar.
Well,
I've got it. The outline,
but I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I'm aware of it, but I don't know in depth.
You say you're aware of it. What are you aware of?
I'm aware of the context around misinformation, disinformation online.
So, Missouri versus Biden is the United States District Court and then the United States Court of Appeals that ruled in both cases that the United States government violated the First Amendment by coercing and censoring speech and using the biggest corporations in the world to do it. And I'm asking you about it because a large portion of the case concerns CISA. So let me just read some of the relevant portions since you say you're not too familiar with it. This is from the court's opinion. CISA, working in close connection with the FBI, held regular industry platforms concerning their moderation policies, pushing them to adopt CISA's proposed practices for addressing misinformation, disinformation, and malinformation. CISA also engaged in switchboarding operations, meaning that CISA officials acted as intermediaries for third parties by forwarding flagged content from them to the platforms. Like the CDC did for COVID-related claims, CISA told the platforms whether certain election-related claims were true or false. The court goes on, CISA violated the First Amendment. CISA was the primary facilitator of the FBI's interaction with the social media platforms and worked in close coordination with the FBI to push the platforms to change their policies. CISA also used its frequent interactions with social media platforms to push them to adopt more restrictive policies, and CISA affirmatively told them repeatedly what content was true or false and what needed to be taken down. So what the court found is, and there are voluminous findings here, both in the opinion and in the record, is that the government, acting through a series of agencies, including the one that you are a part of, used its power to go after protected First Amendment speech in a way that directly violates the First Amendment. Now, you have a long record of government service. I can't imagine that this is what you signed up to do. Let me just ask you first, you weren't in any way involved in any of the activities described by the court in these cases, were you?
I work physical security for the Cybersecurity Infrastructure Security Agency. So I come in each and every day, and I'm focused on public gathering events, federal facilities security, and the sectors to ensure that they have physical security measures in place.
Okay, good. So
my focus, that is my expertise.
You weren't meeting with the executives or counterparts at any of these social media companies as described by the court. Good. Now, let me just ask you, I mean, do you think that this is consistent with CISA's mission, the use of coercive power to try and censor American speech in a way that violates the First Amendment of the United States Constitution?
That's not the way the agency that I work for operates.
Well, are you saying it's not how it should operate?
So, with that being said, we know already that they're never going to admit to any of this, even though there is an amazing amount of proof that suggests that these things are true, but they will never admit to it. So, again, with the lies, that's another reason why the Democrats were indicted during this election. And also, when you talk about the COVID response, they shut down the country. American people, American citizens, we're just over the Democrats and just how they run the country. It's to serve themselves and not us. Again, we've heard several times over and over that Joe Biden wasn't going to pardon his son, that he wasn't mentally declining, or the things that we saw with our own eyes were cheap fakes. It's just kind of sad to see. Again, on top of all of that, where has Joe Biden been? And also, where is Kamala? They're both still president. They're both still president and vice president, but they're nowhere to be found. And the country is suffering for it. And I want to react to one more clip, which was recently in the news.
Shedding light on how the White House functioned or didn't function with a diminished Biden in charge.
Incredible. Peter Doocy joins us from Washington. Hey, Peter.
And when I got to the White House 4 years ago with President Biden, he was walled off because of COVID. They didn't want him to get sick. But then he stayed walled off. And now the Wall Street Journal has this item with the headline, How the White House Functioned with a Diminished Biden in Charge. And it comes with this quote, "If the president was having an off day, meetings could be scrapped altogether. On one such occasion in the spring of 2021, a national security official explained to another aide why a meeting needed to be rescheduled. Quote, he has good days and bad days, and today was a bad day, so we're going to address this tomorrow," the former aide recalled the official saying. The president showed natural signs of aging, but key allies always stuck their necks out to say, no big deal.
Right after the debate, you insisted that President Biden is extraordinarily strong. Given where we are now, do you have any regrets about what you told the American people?
No, not at all. Not at all.
I talk to President Biden, regularly, usually several times in a week. His mental acuity is great. It's fine. It's as good as it's been over the years.
Well, do you think the president should undergo some sort of cognitive testing?
No, to the extent that we're having this conversation, I don't see any need to do that as it relates to Biden.
Things have changed a lot, but no obvious second thoughts.
You prepare to leave the White House. Any other regrets that you have? Anything you wish you would have done differently?
Well, I guess if I thought a lot about it, it'd be something I've done specifically done, but not generically.
I had a front row seat to a lot of this, and at various times was basically told not to believe what I was seeing or hearing. The president misspoke. The president has a cold. But now the dam appears to be breaking. This Wall Street Journal item interviewed 50 people familiar with Biden's operation. Back to you.
So
So, Peter, you had this story in August. The Wall Street Journal began to dip their toe in the water on this very topic, and they got blasted. You've gotten blasted when you've questioned the president's acuity. And Kamala Harris offended that people even bring it up. But they talk about interaction between Biden and many of his cabinet members were infrequent, often tightly scripted. At least one cabinet member stopped requesting calls with the president because it was clear that such requests wouldn't be welcome. The cabinet. Peter Doocy can't get an interview. His own cabinet can't get a meeting. Adam Smith, who's chairman of Armed Services, tried to tell the president how bad Afghanistan could turn out. He couldn't get to him. This is cataclysmic.
And it raises a lot of questions about who was making key decisions. You mentioned the Afghanistan withdrawal. If the president was as diminished as this story makes it sound, that would be a huge problem, and it could.
All right, so with that being said, that is it. That begs the question: who has been running the country, right? So, if a president, a sitting president, is declining, or anything that happens that deems them unfit to serve, do you have a constitutional right to enact the 25th Amendment, which would have made Kamala Harris the president of the United States? And from sources, Biden has been declining since he took office. So was that him for the Afghanistan withdrawal? Who's been running the country? Who's been spending all this money? Who's making executive decisions? Is it Kamala? Is it the Obamas? We don't know. But what I can tell you, a lot of people have been getting rich from this administration, which is it's a shame. And we as American people, we deserve better from our leaders. Where is Kamala Harris? She still is the vice president. Where is Joe Biden? He still is the president. They both have disappeared, and we're left here essentially sitting ducks. But I'm going to end my video here today. Share the content. Most importantly, subscribe to the channel. But until next time, peace, love, and fish grease. I'll see you guys on the next video.